Do you know one of the biggest stereotypes you could tell black people? You know what, mate? You look good for your age. You don't look your age. Now that could be a blessing or a curse. Now that could be a blessing simply if you're like a young thing comes and sees you, yeah, and she thinks that you're her age. But that could be a curse when you start talking to her and you realise you went to school with her mum.
I know, these feelings never go. I know, I should let go, baby. I know, these feelings never go. I know, I should let go, baby.
I'm going to introduce a comedian who I first saw at Kojo's Comedy Funhouse, and when he walked onto the stage, I said, right, what's he going to come out with, right? And when you see him, you're going to probably understand why I had that thought process. But then when he took up the mic and what came out of his mouth, I was like, ah. So he's a top comedian. He's a top fella, ladies and gentlemen. So put your hands together, make some noise, Mr. Kevin J. I know you're the king of the beanies, yeah. So that's what I thought I'll wear mine today.
Smashing.
You know what I mean? Yeah, even though it's like
Appreciate that.
It's balancing on my locks.
Tea cozy vibes.
You know what I mean? It's balancing like. You know what I mean?
I like it though. I like it.
Action.
Yeah.
It's
You should give me the memo. I would have got involved in
Have
it.
you
In the
hats?
beanie game. No.
You know, I don't see that.
No,
Yeah,
no. Hats don't suit me. Actually, my head is actually, on average, bigger than the average head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
you
My
measuring?
mum used to cuss us for it because she used to call us. She did the Rayburn head, and you can imagine why she's. You know, my mum's got 4 kids, and she suffered the Rayburn head 4 times. But
Wow. So, Kev, comedy. How's it been treating you since we were allowed to go back in the clubs and perform in front of people who won't listen to each other?
Like, that first gig back, I felt like a newcomer. I was like on stage, like trembling and like, hi guys, it's good to be here. I ain't gigged for 18 months. I should have more material than I do. But it's good to be here. Listen, come on, we as a stand-up yourself, you know, it's more than just performing, right? It's therapy for us. We do it because we want to get things off our chest, and you know, there's always something that we say that is born from truth. You know, we'll embellish it and make it, but there's, you know, so 18 months without therapy, I was like waiting to go back on. So yeah, good to be back.
I remember you done one of the gigs at the drive-thrus, and you were telling the audience after you finished your set how it wasn't even, you was grateful, but it was emotional. And like, it was like literally it was therapy for us.
Yeah, that was a really emotional gig, because I think, you know, in that period of lockdown, we had the Black Lives Matter movement, and as a white comedian performing on a black circuit, there was a big part of me that was like, okay, I more than ever now need to be mindful and cognizant of what I'm talking about to black audiences. You know, I can't just take it for granted. I never do. I never go on stage and just take it for granted and just say things. I'm always very thoughtful and kind of package my material in a way that is respectful, but also my truth. But yeah, coming off the back of Black Lives Matter, lockdown, not gigging, I was like, well, okay, how do I come back? And I just came back with honesty, my perception of how things were, what that period meant, and also what I had learned. You know, I've grown up around black people, I've grown up around Caribbeans, Africans, and I feel like I thought I understood it. And then that whole movement, the reading that I was doing and just listening, I took time to just listen. And I was like, wow, I know nothing.
So I respect you and admire you, because you're one of the few white guys that actually just shut them out and listen.
No matter when you think you know everything, in whatever it is you do, you could be a carpenter and you think you know everything. There'll be someone that will come and do carpentry in a way that you've not seen before. So no matter how well you think you know something, that's my ethos for life. But no more so in something that I will never be qualified. I will never be qualified in what it's like to be a person of colour. But it's something that I really want to understand. So I will always listen and take on board and hear that perspective.
So do you think, and it's really interesting and refreshing to hear you talk that way, because that's what we need. We need everybody to take stock and listen and really absorb and understand and have more of these conversations. But would you say that going through that whole lockdown experience, Black Lives Matter, having some material probably already, is there any material that you ditched because of it? Change your perspective.
Yeah, completely changed I completely changed my perspective on how we can say things from a place of our intention, but actually how is that coming across? So I mean, for me, I've been doing stand up for 13 years. I started on the circuit when I was 18. So naturally, the things I was talking about back then, I'm not talking about them now. And some of the things, as all comics, we look back and well, did I really say that? But I'm forever censoring my material. But specifically after that period, I said, okay, there are some things that I would say, and just the nuance of what I could be implying. I was like, I can't say that. You know, I naturally know and have a ability to do certain accents. And that's not because I've sat down and studied them. That's just because, you know, my best friend owned a Caribbean shop. So on the way home from primary school, I'd just drop into the Caribbean shop and sit there and do my homework. I never sat down and thought, right, let me understand the difference between a Bayesian accent and a Caribbean and a Jamaican accent, and understand the different Caribbean accents. You just pick it up, right? And I thought, actually, you know what? Let me take them out of my set because I don't need them in there. I don't need to do an accent to make my jokes funny. They garnish it. They make it like when I'm talking about doing a joke about being a white guy in a Caribbean shop, whatever. If I talk in a Caribbean accent or Jamaican, whatever it might be, it does help. But at the same time, I don't want people to think, oh, like he's lazy and he's just impersonating people. So most definitely, I was like, you know what? Let me strip it back and actually just give my honesty and take away any of the kind of the glitz. Because when I first came in, I could tell people were like, oh, it's just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick. He can do accents and it's gonna fade. So I was like, nah, that's it. I'm taking all of that stuff out and I'm just going to give my truth, my honest, respectful truth.
Yeah, because this is one of the things that, like myself, like everybody knows I'm Bajan and stuff, but I didn't want the Bajan accent to be my soul. There's more to me. I'm East End, you know what I mean? And I wanted people to know about that, and obviously that's the flavour in it. As you talk about accents, though, from when I first saw you, you've got the Nigerian parts of it, dialect patterns. Now the dialect, obviously, hundreds of dialects, thousands of dialects. Better than most Nigerians.
But do you know what? I think it's a thing of like, no matter where you grow up and who you surround yourself with. Like I grew up with my Nigerian friends speaking pidgin English, so it's not a gimmick. Like I'll just speak it back with them, and it's not in a space of being like inconsiderate or being complacent. It's like everyone. That's do you understand? You talk. So you could be a person of colour growing up in Yorkshire. I'm sure you'll be able to. But what I started to understand was actually there's a sense of entitlement that I have and a privilege that I have as a white man to be able to do those accents, and that's what I didn't want to come across. I didn't want to be on a black show and just out of nowhere just start speaking pidgin English or just start speaking in a Jamaican accent, because my privilege as a white man allows me to do that. Do you understand what I mean? So it's just I'm just more mindful of that and how I kind of position myself and the things I'm saying.
As you mentioned, we're going to take a look at one of your wonderful accents.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this flight to... Where are we going? Okay, welcome aboard this flight to Abuja. Today we are going to be flying at a height of about 15,000 to 35,000 feet. I haven't decided yet. But please, by all means, make yourselves comfortable. And we'll take off when I'm ready. And we did, like 2 hours late. Like, it was fucking crazy. It was really, really weird.
Wow. If I'd have closed my eyes and didn't see the person in front of me, I really wouldn't have known it was you. So, well done. I do a few accents myself.
She's good.
I'm not bad, but do you know what? It is, again, like you said, it's not because I've studied accents or tried them. I've just been around certain different accents, like very close Irish friends growing up, and I could fling down an Irish accent if I wanted to, you know. So it's coming from a place of truth and authenticity.
Listen to how many Scottish people do you know? Because you got the Scottish then.
I've got Scottish in my blood, you know. Rayburn's a Scottish name.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, like
Okay.
from way back, you know, through the whole transatlantic slave exchange or enslavement. But yeah, Scotland's in my blood.
But
Well, it's true. It's my truth.
yeah, especially my blood because my forefathers.
Quincy said it's a light-hearted show. We just do light-hearted chat.
So do you know what I want you to do? Yeah, to camera, right? So introduce the show.
Oh my gosh, you put me in this.
It's gonna get into shit anyway. So.
Well, I can say Scotland. That's about it.
Yeah.
Scotland. That wasn't bad, was it?
My only accent I could do a Geordie accent. I could say one word.
What?
Jacket.
Still sounded Asian.
That sounded Jamaican.
And I got that from Anton Neck. Jacket. Was it jacket? Jacket. No.
Quince, no. Stick with the straight comedy and the Cockney. Forget the accents.
Don't, you're not going to be the Geordie Prince.
Yeah. So, being on the circuit, you're big on the black circuit, you know what I mean, and doing all the clubs and that. What was it like? Did you feel that extra pressure when you was like performing? You like the only white guy on there 9 times out of 10. Did you feel that extra pressure with all us lot?
Yeah, of course. And I still do. I say that to anyone that will listen. Like, I take nothing for granted. Every time I step on stage, as all comics do, no matter where it is, you treat it like it's your first gig and you got those nerves and stuff. But specifically when I do a black show, like nothing's promised. And I even till now, I've got 30 seconds to a minute to let the black audience know. Like, he ain't gonna say something out. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
and sometimes I even, if I walk on and there's a bit of hostility, I call it out straight away. You know, I'll be like, oh, I know what you're thinking. You know, can't we have anything for ourselves? You know, or whatever it might be. Because,
at the time,
and I just want them to just relax and go, okay, as an audience, okay, there is a white guy here, but the reason is because actually the what he's been exposed to, his story will resonate with us. But I don't take it for granted, and I think the 2 or 3 gigs I have taken it for granted haven't gone well. Do you know what I mean? Where I've just kind of gone out with kind of cocky, like, oh yeah, I'm, you know me, you know I'm not racist, or you know that I'm not gonna say something, and then everyone's like, oh, why is he? No. We need you to be humble, Kev. You know? But interestingly, then equally backstage as well. Like, but that's you know, with comics and stuff, everyone's like black comics on the black circuit, and I'm a little white boy when I started out, just sat there. But again, it comes back to that whole thing of I just listen. I always just listen. I was taught from a very young age you can't learn when your mouth's open. So that's why I just sit there. And you know, I've been sat there in a dressing room sometimes with, you know, the late great Felix Dexter, Curtis Walker. You know, Felicity Ethnic. I'm talking about greats. Real. These are my great. I didn't grow up watching Lee Evans and stuff like that. I grew up going past Hackney Empire and seeing the posters of Slim, you, Gina. These you know, these are the people I grew up watching. So to even be in a dressing room with them, I'm not one. What have I got to add to that conversation?
You know, it was really funny. I remember one time, I'm in the back of the green room and we're talking. The comics talking, and obviously being from Tottenham. And then I'm in there, and I listened to you speak. Not you weren't talking in an accent, but you were talking about the ends and Tottenham and that. I'm like, I'm really white. So I was like, yeah, so I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bounce it on. And when I listen to yourself and Tony Hendricks and White Yardie, there's a lot more Jamie Howard, a lot more white comics now are coming through the black circuit. Do you think it's helped? Would you say that you've inspired other white comedians to just look at a circuit and say, you know, it's a show in it. It's not a black show.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, some comics that sometimes do black shows that do predominantly the mainstream or the white circuit, whatever you want to call it, have called me. You know, well, how do I do one of these? And I'm like, what do you mean? How do I do one of these? They're people. And you know, if you're respectful and you don't say, you know, anything too close to but they're gonna laugh. Like, I think there's this whole thing of like people, you know, whoa. I think there's more difference between doing a gig in Newcastle than there is doing
Yes, right.
like a black gig in London, because we're all in London. We all take the same tube. So why do you think a joke about the tube is going to work differently in a white comedy club in London to a black comedy club? Like, do you understand what it's?
Yes, right.
And I think there's this whole kind of illusion of, oh, it's so different. It's not. I hope that for white comics that want to perform on a black circuit, I hope that they see my material and understand that actually when your proximity to people of colour should mean that you treat the subject matter with respect. And I sometimes see people, specifically white people, when they're close to people of colour, they become lazy and complacent. So when I hear a white man say the N-word and he'll say, I say that because my friends are black, and I'm like, if your friends were really black, you would understand why it's not acceptable for you to say it. So when when a white person's proximity to people of colour leans them towards complacency and being disrespectful, I have a problem with that. Our proximity to people of colour should make us understand it all the more and be more compassionate and more understanding. So I hope that people see my material where I am just me. I've not changed. I'm Kev. Like, I go on stage and I'm me. I'm the same person on stage as I am off stage. And I hope that people see actually authenticity will always shine through.
So, Kev, you've got your own night. What's the name of the show?
So it's I Love Comedy. We launched it in October, and it's a monthly comedy show. It's the last Saturday of the month, other than in December, because the last Saturday is Christmas Day. So it's the week before that. It's getting a bit technical. You can find out all the information on ilovecomedy.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure one more time. Kevin J.
Thank you.
This is like a women's group coming out. It's like a women's group. So you're on Facebook or Instagram. So you just, what do you call it? Find a friend. Make new friends. You know, it's homo, isn't it? You know, it's nice that you all can come out, right? But I feel sorry for some of the guys who come out with their missus. It's like, fuck, all the days I've been with my missus. It's fucking 400 birds in it. Oh, Jim, what the fucking chances, eh? What the fucking chances? Every minute your geezer slip off to go to the toilet, have a quick one. Fucking. Why are you so tired? I don't know. I've been you a night of ladies' night. I must really fucking love you, love. You must be miserable the whole night. Would you like a drink? Just give me a fucking. Drink myself to fucking death. This is agonizing. This is torture for me, man. All these women in here. So it's called, what's the name of the group? Make New Friends. Are you all from Tamworth?
No.
I'm gonna say, just fucking make new friends, just fucking go to fucking Primark. How much you pay for that? Make new friends. So you... How far have you travelled? Did you just go on like, is it like a group, or is it, how far have you... Who's admin? You're admin. So what made you start out? What guy really pissed you off? Some guy must have really broke your heart and say, fuck it, I'm gonna make new friends with women! These guys are full of shit! Make new friends. Have you got a visa? You got a fella? So you fight all these women, you're trying to tempt him! Evil woman! I've got a couple of the girls coming over. No! Your poor fella's in the bedroom with a Bible just praying. Please! Don't let it be Brenda with the big tits. Please! She's trying to get me. She's trying to fucking meet me. I'm suffering here. Your poor fella. Fuck him up. He must walk into the kitchen, all these women are just blind. Show me where the fucking beer is, love. I'm not looking at no one. So look, ladies and gentlemen, a young man that I've got mad respect for, a young man completely different to me, won his first 2 fights. But not only is this guy a great fighter, but he's also a great comedian, and he has got a mum that I have got nothing but love for and a mentor. So put your hands together and make some noise. So Mr. Travis J, ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Good to see you, Bengo.
Yeah, it's all right, yeah. So, thank you for taking time out, man. How's it been with yourself since the whole lockdown's been lifted and work-wise?
Do you know what? It feels weird. It's like it's back, but it's not the same yet. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel normal to be in a club full of people yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've done so many social distance gigs, and it's like those just don't satisfy you the way that this, you know what I mean, a full room does. But it's nice to just be back in front of people and just doing what I love again, you know?
No, definitely. I found myself doing a couple of outside gigs, and I ain't gonna lie, I hated them.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
As in outside, open air outside?
Yeah, open air.
Yeah, car
Park things.
Just in the park.
Glorified as this.
Bro, that's the first time I got heckled by a helicopter. Couldn't believe it, bro. Like, you need to move for me to get to this bit.
Nuts. That's when you know you're at a black gig when you see police helicopters flying away.
I didn't make it to any of those elite car park gigs. So,
to be
was
fair,
I missing anything?
I did one that was amazing. The drive-in show.
Yes, I don't know.
Now that was like that. I don't know. I like when I was going to the gig, I was like, how the hell is this gonna go? Like, people are in their cars. I was like, I don't know how they're gonna, let me know that the joke is funny. But they bid their horns.
Yeah, that threw me a couple of times.
Do you know what? It quickly replaced the feeling of laughter. Like, you tell a joke and it's like, black people, they got the different horn on there. How you want on your car? So yeah, that wasn't bad.
Did you find that when you came back on the circuit and started doing shows, the clubs were opening, the audience were different compared to the last time?
Yeah, everything's different. I feel like the whole society shifted. Do you know what I mean? We've gone through a traumatic experience with this lockdown. A lot of people have had to face up to, the reality that their relationship weren't what they thought it was. Now that you're with each other every day, society's different. We saw conversations about race in a way that we've never seen. Like, white people coming to the table to be like, I never really realised. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Big really,
2020. Really? Yeah. I had a couple of conversations on the radio with some of the white comics.
Yeah.
And that whole George Floyd thing really did open up a lot of people's eyes, and I suppose we've taken it, but it was conversations we definitely need to have.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of transparency's arrived. So for me, I feel the audience is like, they're past just funny for funny's sake. Like, it really hits when you just talk and it's some realness. So I think that's kind of like something that's kind of affected my writing, because I feel like the change it's had on me is like, yo, I don't want to wait until like football players, they wait till they're retired to be like, I experienced racism. It's like, bro, put that book away, fam. You should have told me
there and then.
When you played for Men, you tell me then, bro. Not now, bro. I know. So that's kind of where I'm at now. It's just like, you know what? I just want to talk with the realness. I ain't playing this game no more.
Yeah. No.
And have you, clearly, like, there's been a whole shift in society, in the world, in how people think and behave in general. So would you say that that whole pandemic and lockdown and not being able to be in front of people, did that take you back to the drawing board, essentially? Because you're saying that you kind of had to rethink your material, and it's not just funny for funny's sake. So did it actually bring you back to the drawing board? Did it reset you?
It kind of just made me realise that it's like, there's another level. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the journey with a comic, as you all know, it's like, you go through stages, growing up. I've been doing, 12 years now? And it's like, when you first start out, you kind of just do what everyone else is doing. And then you start to understand your own voice. And it's like, even then you understand your own voice, there's still more to discover. And I feel like there's certain conversations I don't want to shy away from. Do you know what I mean? And I think now I'm kind of confident in who I am. Like, there's a level of transparency I want in all areas of my life, where it's like, I'm not someone else when I go to work. I'm not someone else when I go here. I don't want to get on stage and be someone else. I want to be me every moment of every day. So when I step on stage now, the conversation I would have in private with my dad, that's going on stage. Like, I'm not playing anymore. I just want to live that way 100% all the time.
Why did you choose comedy
As
a stand-up?
It's such a random journey, to be honest with you, because I wanted to go to the NBA.
Really?
Yeah, I was literally living a dedicated basketball life. Like 6 a.m. training, late that evening practice, matches on certain days. I was dedicated. and I just wasn't that good. So
No, I didn't say no injury. I didn't say he made a cut.
just wasn't that good. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't even the best player I knew. So I was like, I don't see how I'm getting to the NBA from here. And it was literally when I hit 21, and it was like that summer, I was like, well, I'm just going to start going out a bit more and see what's going on. And I went to Kojo's Funhouse. And I sat in the crowd and I watched and I was like, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I hadn't even acknowledged that I'd grown up with my mum being my mum. Because for me, that was just what my mum did. Yeah, I'd go to shows and we'd sit backstage. But when I look back, comedy was always in the background of my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, comics would see me on the scene. Like, I remember I met Curtis Walker when I was doing a show and he was on the lineup and he came up to me, he's like, "Rah, look how tall you are now. Like, you look like your dad." It weren't conversational like, you new comic. This was like, you're the little boy that I'd seen growing up. So I've always been around comedy. So it's a weird one where it felt like it was my choice. But maybe the stars were aligned for this journey all along.
Yeah, I'm cute for that. I remember the first time I saw you, and it's like, I'd done Big Sister back in the day, and your mum was
Oh,
directing.
yeah, I remember that.
For ladies, for those that know, this is Angela Maher's son. This is what you're talking about. We say mum. Angie, love it, nothing but love. It was like, you was introduced as a comedian, and it was like, it wasn't like what Kate said, it was like, right, this is a new comedy. It was like, right, my man's proper grown.
Isn't it funny though how people always say that? I mean, I'm even guilty of that now in my big old age now. When you see like younger kind of cousins or kids of friends of yours or whatever, you're like, "Oh my God, haven't you grown?"
I know.
And I remember being that age thinking, "Well, what do you expect me to do?
That's what I'm saying.
Just hang about?
It's so
hang
patronising.
about down here." So. But do you know what? Back to your mum, who is an absolute legend. So much respect for Angie for so many different reasons, not just for her comic talent, but for she just blazed the trail in so many different areas as a female and as a black female.
And a Jamaican.
He said that begrudgingly. He did. All right, we will. It's all love here in the Caribbean family. Asians count too. Their lives matter too.
All Asians matter.
But it's on a serious note. Like, you obviously grew up around comedy, and you've now gone into comedy.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you are constantly chasing that dragon with your mum because your mum's such a comic icon? And do you feel like you're living in her shadow, or for you is it like, no, this is my lane actually, this is what I'm doing?
Probably in the early years when comics who knew, because I didn't really talk about it. Like, I never really, if you knew, you knew, but I wasn't like, it's not in my bio. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm the son of, I never did anything like that. But comics who knew, like Richard Blackwood, one time he introduced me on stage, you know what I mean? He's just like, he's like, "This next guy coming to the stage, he comes from good stock. Andrew Lamar's son." And I was like, whoa, he didn't even say my name. He didn't even say my name. So it's like, I'm used to dealing with the pressure of when the crowd find out, because immediately they go, "Oh," and they flash back and it's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I love her." So now I've got to come out, live up to that expectation. So I never really got to be just a free new comic. Do you know what I mean? I kind of just accepted that this was going to be the pressure that was on me. And I thought, I could even make my life hard and be like, "Oh, I can't stand this," and mope around. I'll just embrace it. It is what it is. So I don't necessarily feel like I'm living in her shadows, but there's certain milestones that are in my own head for my journey, because I'm like, okay, my mum's done this with her career. So there's certain levels of impact I want to have with mine. And it's not like pressure, it's more just competition. Like, my sporting background has made me a very fiercely competitive person. So I don't I don't look at it as a negative. I see it as something that keeps me going. I'm like, look, anytime I get like hardship, I've seen my mum's hardship. The stuff that everybody will know, and then the stuff that only the family will know. So I've seen the grind. So I know I don't have crazy expectations of the game, because I know how hard everything is. So I just appreciate whatever comes my way and just enjoy it.
Well, you mentioned your sportive background as well as the basketball, so you don't just do comedy, but you also dabbled in the ring like myself.
Yeah.
And you are competitive. So let me give you a good story. So I remember it was one of my last fights I had, and Travis sent me a tweet, because I lost my first two. No good luck. No, you best win this next fight, You best win it. I ran sleep. I said, but I looked at it, and I looked at the tweet or the message basically, and it was like, I can't Because I'm known. I'm known.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm the known guy, so I can't. I can't go out like this. Yeah, so you did give me.
Was it third time lucky then?
Yeah, I won the third one. I won it pretty easy. I think it was on the back of the
tweet.
Message. It wasn't private message. It was blatant tweet
on the timeline.
On the timeline. So, what was your love? Your love for boxing, from basketball to boxing. What was it with the bees?
Do you know what I think I literally stopped like playing basketball like cold. I didn't even like play like just for fun on the weekends. Cause I loved it so much. I was like, look, if I'm gonna do this, it has to be 100%. Otherwise, I can't enjoy it. Like people playing casually on the Saturday, they lose. It's like, no big deal. Nah, bro, it's a big deal, fam. Do you know what I mean? So I moved into a sport where it's like it's just me. It's like it's a solo sport, and I kind of saw a bit of therapy in it. Do you know what I mean? I was going through a bit of a hard time in life. Like I had a daughter, quite young, like 23, but my life wasn't in a great place. Do you know what I mean? So there was like money pressure. Stand up wasn't really doing what I needed it to do. So I was just in a low place. And I remember just going through the newspaper, and I've always loved boxing, but I just saw an ad that was like, train for like a boxer for 4 months, have a real fight. And like I just told myself, if I can do this, then surely I can pick the rest of my life back up and get back on track. So I just got stuck in, started training hard, studying tape, and I obsessed over boxing. I didn't like just casually do it when I wasn't gigging. I said no gigs for the next 4 months. We're just doing this. Had the fight, won the fight, and it just turned my life around. I developed a focus where I was just like, life is like a boxing match. Do you know what I mean? You got an opponent, those are the hardships. You got to find a way to navigate. If you get hit, cool, you got hit, but you're going to have to do something else to avoid getting hit again and keep moving forward. And that's just the kind of lessons that I learned from that, and I've just carried that forward. So there's a passionate feeling for boxing because of that journey. So, yeah.
That's really interesting, kind of how you speak about getting into boxing and what it did for you within the rest of your life. But I think generally, I was into sports as a youngster as well. Not boxing, but I used to do the 100 metres.
Oh, okay.
I used to do the high jump. Did a bit of javelin and discus as well. So lots, track and field. But played netball and still play netball now. And so does my mum, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
my mum plays probably more times a week than I do.
So we recently had the Euros
Yeah.
a little while ago, and obviously our three kings unfortunately missed the penalty.
Yeah.
But there was obviously a lot of online abuse, and obviously the players were taking the knee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was your views about the online abuse?
It's a frustrating one because it's like, whenever these moments happen, you always you flash back to conversations about race that have taken place before. And people are like, there's no racism in England. Do you know what I mean? England's not racist. There's no issues here. We're the most tolerant. And it's just like, what are we talking, it's so clear that people don't actually listen to the black community when these conversations come up. And it's it almost feels like a slap in the face. Because these moments come up and you're like, okay, cool, so explain this. And it's just radio silence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I hear people kind of echo this whole thing. It's like the most tolerant place in Europe. But it's like, bro, if I said, bro, don't hit your woman, he's like, bro, I only hit her on Tuesdays. That's not an excuse that ends the convo for me. So yeah, so quite an annoying situation.
The boxing podcast, you yourself and KGB on later on, it's taken off.
Oh man, thank you.
It is. You are literally. You remember Satan Greaves of the boxing. So they've got a boxing podcast, and it's like it's not. Yeah, we can all talk boxing. Are you a boxing fan?
I wouldn't say I'm a fan necessarily, but if there's a good fight, I'll watch it.
If AJ's fighting, you'll watch.
Yeah, although I didn't watch his last fight.
That's why you
I
lost.
was out.
So you didn't watch it.
I wasn't there.
He was looking for you.
I know. I heard.
I thought he was ducking the punches. He was looking for you.
Next time, AJ. Next time.
But you and KG, what works well on your podcast is the fact of you're not just talking the facts. You add your little humour to it.
Yeah.
And I think that as a comedian, that gives you so much leverage.
Yeah.
Because you can take the sting out of.
That's right.
Because boxers got egos.
Boxers got egos. Boxers are sensitive as well.
Yes,
bro. You start talking about fighters too much, boy. They'll be on your ass. They ain't playing, and it's nuts. Yeah. So I had a close scrape at the fight camp.
Yeah.
So Lyndon Arthur.
Yeah.
So he had a fight with Anthony Yard, right? Anthony Yard.
Big up Anthony.
Big up Anthony Yard, bro. He's a good friend of mine. So Anthony Yarde lost the first fight, but you know it's quite easy to see what Anthony Yarde would have to do to win the rematch, in my opinion. So I say Anthony Yarde knocks him out. My friend KG, he runs over to Lyndon Arthur at the fight camp. He's just in the crowd. He goes, "Yo, my boy said you're getting knocked out in the next fight." So he's like, "Rob, where's your boy?" So I come over there. Now I'm not coming over for this. I'm coming over because I just see KG standing there. So I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Yo, tell him what you said."
Let's take a look at the clip with you and Lyndon Arthur with KG. Put you in it.
Cool, man.
Okay, so we saw Yard versus Lyndon Arthur. It was a massive fight, it was a huge fight. On Undefeated Podcast, Travis has said that Lyndon has not got a chance in the rematch. He said he's knocking him out. Wait, early. When it? I'm selling it. Heated. Why you said it's a mad? You said that. Here we go. So let's get into this. Let's get into this now. Travis, you said a lot of things on Lyndon. Who's gonna win this? Who's gonna rematch? Who's gonna win the rematch according to you?
I say Yarde wins by KO.
Okay. So, but why though, bro?
I say that because the way the 12th round looked, you got a taste of what the fight might look like if he put the foot down earlier.
Still doing this?
Yeah.
No, it's recorded.
He wants it to be live. Yeah, he wants it live. So I say in the rematch, he's gonna put the foot down a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And get busy, and then see if he can take it earlier on.
Lyndon, you've heard a lot now, and even I'm not gonna lie, I ran over to you as like my boy's been chatting. He's chatting the most.
Yes.
What's your response to this now?
Now I'm just confused because he says that Yard wanted to prove that he could box against me, not that I made him do that.
No, I said to you, your jab, I see your jab as a world-class jab. I don't necessarily see the rest of your arsenal as world-class. So in the fight, your best option in that fight is jabbing and going for that same outcome.
So you're saying I can't fight?
I'm saying I haven't seen your fighting ability, and I don't think okay, cool, but I don't think your fighting ability matched up with Yarde's.
You know what? And I respect you about that clip. Right? You stood your ground from waist upwards. And I think that stand-up background, and obviously you've been in that ring, it helped.
All right, let me just clarify. At no point did I think that if this thing went left, that I had a chance. Like, I don't want anyone to watch this and think that, Trav thinks he could take this guy. I can't. But, like you say, and, you know, like I said at the top, like, when I want to be 100% in all areas of my life, if I said this behind your back, I should be able to say it when you're there. So when he came and he said, all right, so what you say? You say he's going to beat me? I said, that's right. I think he's going to knock you out. He was looking at me like, Rah, like, he didn't even flinch.
Because it threw him.
Were your predictions right?
Oh, they haven't had the fight yet.
Oh, so see,
it's still
that's
pending.
how much of a boxing fan I am.
But talking about from heavyweight boxers and heavyweight championships in general, one heavyweight to the next, comedy, Dave Chappelle.
Oh.
What was it like working with Dave Chappelle?
Bro, phenomenal experience, man. Like, my journey into stand-up started when I was playing basketball, because what I would do before my basketball matches, I'd watch a stand-up special to relax me. Do you know what I mean? It would just, this is when I say comedy was in the background of my whole life. But Dave Chappelle, for what it's worth, was the special that I used to watch. I know that word for word. So he's like instrumental in just the inspiration part of me wanting to try this thing out. Do you know what I mean? Obviously aside from my mum, but Dave Chappelle was my guy. So fast forward and it's like, it's such a random moment to be able to perform with him, first of all. But then afterwards, his response to my set, to the point where he's invited me on tour the next time he's come over.
Wow.
So it's like, the experience for me was just like insane, because you're watching the master at work. And what I took away from it was that he's human. Because you have this guy as the legend, the god of the game. But like, when I saw him nervous before he went on, and then afterwards he kind of went to his close friends and was like, yo, how was that? Was that good? And I'm watching thinking, didn't you hear him?
Yeah,
But he's a human. And that's like, that let me know that he is that good because of the way he spent his time. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, if I dedicate myself in the way that he has, then I can, if I don't get as good, I can get close. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what it's like. So my friend was just like, right, like, you're just watching in the same place every night. I stood in, there's like one little stand in Hackney Empire, and I just stood and I just watched. I wasn't even like laughing. I was just admiring the way this man works. And for me, that changed my whole perspective of where my career can go. So it's like, now that I'm approaching certain things and dealing with areas of my life which is allowing me to be much freer on stage and talk and just really give myself to the craft, I can't wait for my next show.
Before we talk about your next show, when you got the phone call that he wanted you to support him, how did that conversation come about? Was it an agent? Was it a
Yeah,
booking?
so they reached out to my management, and my manager texted me and was just like, yeah, tomorrow you're going to be open for Dave Chappelle.
Jeez.
So it's like you get the message, and I remember I was at...
Fuck off.
Yeah, you know. I remember I was at my girlfriend's family that weekend. I remember just like getting a message like, oh, I was like, you know, I gotta go. Like I was getting ready to get up and walk straight to the theater today, but I was like, it's tomorrow. I was like, okay, cool. AJ was fighting that night. This is how serious I was. I missed the fight. I didn't watch it. Nothing. I went to bed early. That's the night he lost to Andy Ruiz.
So that brings me nicely to a question that I had for you, or have for you, which is, if you had to choose comedy or boxing, you can't have both. What would you choose?
Comedy, no brainer. Comedy, no brainer. That's my first love. That's the driving vehicle of everything else that's come. Boxing, I mean, I don't really see myself as somebody who could be a fighter. Like, I like to dabble with it. Do you know what I mean? I like the role I play with the podcast. But like getting in the ring, I'm like, nah.
Do you know, what would you like? Punch in the face or punch your egos?
I take an ego bruising.
So you mentioned you've got your own show coming out.
That's right.
Soon. What's the name of the show?
Yeah, so I haven't even titled it. Travis J Live. It's at the Bloomsbury Theatre, November 12th. And this is like, it's one of the things where I can say that if you've been following my journey as a stand-up comic, you'll notice a very significant shift in my energy. Do you know what I mean? Like this lockdown and all this kind of stuff, and not just that, but like I've been like, you know, I've had a therapist for like the majority of this year, and it's like you start to really deep dive into yourself and just understand exactly how you became to be this person. And it's like you start to see sides that you've neglected, sides that you've given too much, sides that have maybe been a bit toxic along the way in life, and it's like where I'm really like making sure that every part of me, I'm working on every part of me basically, and getting on stage now is like the final step where it's like, okay, different energy, complete transparency, I'm going all the way. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of time we have conversations, you know, you get on stage, boom, you come on stage and you have a different version of you. I'm like, nah, I ain't playing that no more. It's too much pressure. I'm used to doing all that stuff. You go to work, you get the work voice. Do you know what I mean? You get the performance so you can be like the corporate version of Trav. I'm like, nah, I'm throwing all of that away. I'm having big meetings. I'm sitting like, well, go on, bro. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm thinking. And I talk just how I am. And I realise that people will meet you at the level they understand that, okay, cool, he is who he is. And that's that. And also I'm like, you know what? If it doesn't go that great in the moment, at the end, I'm going to get my flowers. Because they didn't like Muhammad Ali when Muhammad Ali was active. But at the end, they say he stood up for his values. But they're like, who is he standing up against? You!
Yeah. But he spoke his truth. And you know what? I really love what you've said there about being transparent and actually being authentic. Because authenticity, as in stepping out and being who you are and just operating in your truth, that is the biggest superpower that any human can have. That's where magic happens.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the wonderful talents of Travis J. Here on the show, we like to promote people with all forms of talent and all beauties. And this young lady I'm going to introduce to you, not is only beautiful, has got a voice to match. And here on this show, we like to promote the young. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Lauren Kofi with I'm Your Type.
Scott. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you like, yeah. Tell me what you like. Perfectionist, I'll get it right. Do you like it like this, like that? on my knees. Should I make it like this, like that? Your house, my house. I can feel you growing. We can get it till the morning. I put you in your zoning. Yeah, you won't need your phone when I know I'm your type. I know I'm your type. I can see it in your eyes. Oh yeah. Oh,
You want more than I'm providing. Come back off tour, then might sliding. Your family sure and don't like it, but you ain't no whore, you're just matching. Block pagans out and let vibes in. I bet I feel heavy on your light skin. You be the queen and I be like Slim. Why you tryna do things with ice cream? You ain't met driller like me. You ain't met killer like me. Yeah, I know the niggas got beat, but a nigga don't hit it like me. You ain't got guess what kiss like. I pull hair, mix you wigs tight. I strip down chicks on the inside. Xavier, how I'm in a chick's man. You ain't got a lie, you ain't that shy. When we're in bed, what the hell's time? Never pulled out, you said never mind. That's a little way ahead of our time. Yeah, you know you're my type, and you know how I like you. So put your two lips then both over my lightning. It's a little bit frightening, a little exciting. I ain't got no wife yet, but you ain't no sad too.